Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In this episode, we're going to open a new series on Chinese characters and based on a Chinese dictionary which is widely used by Chinese people. And as I mentioned before, Chinese is not a very hard language because it has a very limited vocabulary because Chinese is not an international language. It is a relatively closed language. So you only need to know about 3,000 words, 3,000 commonly used words to read properly. So the language is easy. Yeah, it's easy. It has its own principles or its own rules. If only you read more, listen more, you get familiar with the language, you will master it or you will understand it. And during our illustration or during our explanation of these series of these characters, I want to tell the history of China, especially the history of modern China after 1949, which is the foundation of the so-called New China. So I want to combine the two because the purpose of this channel is not only to teach you the language, the Chinese as a language, but to understand Chinese people and why Chinese people suffered all these tragedies and they suffer all the dictatorship uh, as they are now. So there is a reason for that. So the reason, one main reason lies in its history. Okay, the first character in this episode we're going to talk about is this on the board. It has two pronunciations, as you can see above. The first is I. 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 I will write this character here. The left part, the right part. I hope you have already seen my other videos on talking about this left part and right part stuff. This I is formed by the left part and the right part. The left part here, the left part in Chinese we call it 提手边. 提手边. It means because 手 is a hand, the hand. So it implies that this character has something to do with your hand, right? Has something to do with your hand. And the right part gives the sound of the character. So this right part is another character which sounds like I. So this whole character is I. Right? That is one basic idea of Chinese character which has a left part and a right part. So when you pronounce this as I, it has two meanings. The first one is next to or be close to something. We have words like 挨着 Yeah, you don't have to write Chinese perfectly. As you can see, my writing is terrible. But the important thing is you have to write the characters in the right order. That is the most important thing when you write these characters. 挨着 For example, 我的房子挨着一条河。我的 my 我的房子 my house 房子 this z we have talked about this is a suffix of noun 椅子桌子凳子杯子帘子 we have talked about that. I hope you can check it out in my other videos in the list. List, I believe that's the list in the words catalog. 我的房子挨着一条河。My house is close to a river. Or my house sits next to a river. My house sits next to a river. That means 挨着。我的房子挨着一条河。It means my house and the river, they are very close to each other. 挨着。我挨着他坐。I sit next to him, or I sit with him, right? I want to sit with you. 我想和你挨着坐。If you say this sentence, 我想和你挨着坐。I want to sit next to you. 我想和你挨着坐。It has implies that I like you. I really like you, because physical contact. If you 挨着 somebody, if you sit very close to somebody, you have physical contacts, right? So you only want to contact physically with those people you like, right? So that implies you like him or her. 我想和你挨着坐，挨着。And the second meaning of this I is one by one. One by one. It also, when talking about words, you can say 挨着，挨着, yeah. But this 挨着 is different from this 挨着 because the first is next to, and the second 挨着 is one by one. For example, the police is asking for help, door by door, house by house, one by one. So in Chinese, 警察 the police, 警察挨家查问，挨家查问，挨家 means home or door or house, 挨家查问，查 to investigate, 问 to ask, 挨家查问. The police is asking, or the police are investigating door by door. 挨家 means door by door, house by house. This is the second meaning of this I. And on the other side, if you pronounce this I as a second tone, I, it has three meanings. It's another new words, three meanings. The first one is to suffer or to feel something that is very bad personally. For example, words like 挨打 or 挨骂 or 挨饿 I will go through these three one by one, and we may talk a little about Chinese modern history. I believe you will be interested in that. The first one, 挨打. 挨打, it means to suffer bullies or to suffer beatings. 挨打. 打 is to beat, to strike. 挨打, to suffer these very bad bullies. In China, there's a saying, the saying as 落后就要挨打. 落后 means to lag behind economically in terms of economy and technology. 落后就要挨打. 就要 is an emphasis on this sentence. 就要 means must be or will definitely be what. 落后就要挨打. Yeah, every Chinese I'm sorry, I wrote it in 挨骂，落后就要挨打. This is a sentence every Chinese knows about. It means it comes from the sayings or the statement made by the Chinese government, by the CCP, who teach their citizens that 100 years ago, during the Qing dynasty, the corrupted Qing dynasty is bullied by those foreigners, by those Westerns, is because they lagged behind economically and politically and technology in terms of technology. 落后就要挨打. This statement is wrong, obviously, because nowadays we have many I don't want to say poor countries, but underdeveloped countries, but they don't suffer from bullies, right? 落后就要挨打. This is a propaganda taught to Chinese. 落后就要挨打. So the Chinese government they are teaching their citizens these kinds of sentences to brainwash them that we are lagging behind and you have to work hard, otherwise those Western countries will bully you. That's very silly. 挨打, yeah, 挨打. And this 挨打 can also be used in many other circumstances. For example, 儿子挨打了. 儿子 the son 挨打了. So you may know that child abuse or child physically punishment is very commonly seen in China or East Asia countries. That is their culture. 儿子挨打了 means the son is beaten by someone, his parents, basically or obviously. The son is beaten by his father. 挨打了. So there's 了 also here. The 了 is the suffix of this verb phrase 挨打. It means the verb, the action happened in the past. 儿子挨打了. Right? The second one, 挨骂. 挨骂 means to suffer verbal abuse. 挨骂. 骂 is to curse someone's or bad language, to suffer dirty language or bad words. 挨骂. You can replace 挨打 here as 儿子挨骂了. 儿子挨骂了. 挨骂. And the third word, 挨饿. If you live in Canada or the US, you may not know what is this word meaning. 挨饿. It means to suffer hunger, to starve. So, as I talk to my friends in Canada, they grew up in Canada. They don't know what the feeling is 挨饿. They don't have enough food. They don't know the feeling. So the younger generation in China, especially those who were born in 1980s and 1990s, 2000, we call it the new millennium generation, and behind, we don't suffer from hunger. That is the truth. We don't suffer from hunger anymore, or most of us don't suffer from hunger. But during the 1959 to 1961, the 3 years period, as my parents were born in about around that time, 1961 to, they suffer from hunger, great hunger. I believe that is the most serious hunger in all times of human beings, all times. During that 3 years, China has at least 20 million people died because of hunger. 20 million people died at least. That is, or 30 million, some say 30 million. That is about the whole population, the total population of Canada. That is that is insane. So the older generation from the 60s or 70s, they have a habit of eating very fast. So if you ever see a senior people from China, they're eating very fast. That is not because they are hungry, but in their genes there is hunger gene. Because in those Mao's era, the Chairman Mao's era, Chinese people have nothing or don't have enough food to fill their bellies. So 挨饿, 挨饿, yeah, to suffer from hunger, 挨饿. And another word also has Chinese characteristics is 挨斗, 挨斗, 斗 here, 斗. This word is from the Cultural Revolution, the great uh, the Great Cultural Revolution starting from 1966 to 1976, the year Mao died. 挨斗. I don't know if you have ever seen those kind of documentaries in YouTube about this scene, 挨斗. I will describe it for you. For example, in a stadium, in a sports stadium, there's a platform, and if you are the target, hundreds of people arrest you and they put your hands from behind like a criminal, or prisoner. They force you to go up the platform, and hundreds of people they accuse you of some wrongdoings. They believe you are doing wrong. That is called 挨斗. And during this period, each person who want to fight you, want to criticize you, want to humiliate you, they go on the stage and point at you and curse you. Curse. Yeah, that is the situation of 挨斗. And sometimes they will shave your head. Shave your head, even if you are a girl or a woman. They shave your head to bald, and they spit on you, and they kick you, and they beat you. That is 挨斗. My grandfather and grandmother have suffered from these very sad tragedy activities. And you must know that these activities 挨斗 or 挨批斗 idol is very commonly seen in China during those period. Even in the year 1980s, it is very commonly seen. Very commonly seen. So in that period, Mao is above the law. There is no law in China during that period. Mao is above everything. It's above the constitution. There's no constitution. Mao is the god. So when Mao believes someone or some type of person, usually including millions of people, they deserve to be criticized or condemned. 挨斗. So you're doomed. You're doomed. So during those Cultural Revolution, the 10-year Cultural Revolution, millions of people, they cannot suffer from this 挨斗 activities. They just suicide. They kill themselves. They can't handle these tragedies anymore because very tragic in Chinese modern history. Very tragic. 爱豆. So this is the history behind these words. Yeah, behind these words. This is the first meaning. We'll jump to the second meaning of I. Yeah, we'll jump to the second meaning of I. When you pronounce this I, the second tone, it has three meanings. The first one is to suffer, and the second one is to spend days or spend times in a difficult way. 困难的度过 spend the time difficultly, yeah, or hardly. Like 挨日子, for example, the word 挨日子. 挨日子, 日子 is days or times. It may mean suffered times. Or 挨日子, it means you don't have any hope in your lives. There is no hope at all, but you have to live. You cannot suicide because you have your wife, your family, your parents, your friends, but there's no hope. Right? Like in those Mao's era. And most people choose to leave. That is called 挨日子. 挨日子，我们必须挨日子。We have to 挨日子。他在挨日子。He is suffering the days, or he is suffering the times. 挨日子。挨。And the third meaning of this second tone, I, is to postpone. To postpone. For example,他挨到晚饭后才开始写作业. Yeah, I believe you all have this experience when your kids coming home after school, they don't want to finish or start to work on their homeworks, so they drag or postpone their homework until dinner. So 他挨到晚饭后才开始写作业. It means he didn't start to do his homework until dinner time. Not until. Yeah, to postpone, or didn't do something until a specific time. 拖延，挨到晚上，挨到。This dot is until. Yeah, until. I means to postpone something until. Yeah, dot, until. Alright, as you can see how I explain you this one character, it has a full picture, a full history of Chinese culture behind it. So I believe that's a more interesting way for you to learn Chinese. Yeah, and we will continue our series on other characters later. Definitely we will begin this series, and this is one way that I want to teach Chinese. That is kind of my style, and I want to spend or discuss with you the Chinese history behind some characters, so you can have a deep memory or deep understanding of each character. Alright, I hope you enjoy my style of teaching Chinese, and I definitely hope to see your comments behind. Hope you subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching. See you next time.